TheWaterwhispers. Hello everyone, and welcome to another Story Sundays. In today's video, I will be talking about how I got into animal care, because I've got a lot of questions over the last few years asking if YouTube is my full-time job, if I work in animal care, how I got into animal care, and what my relationship is toward animals. So today, I would like to share my story with you of how I got into animal care. So I'm going to make a big time jump first, all the way to when I was around, I think 5 to 6 years old, because that's where my love for animals pretty much started. I had a very rough youth. My mother kicked me out when I was around 4 years old. She put me on the street with all my stuff because she abused me physically and emotionally. And at the time, there was a trial when I was 4 years old, so that my dad would get custody over me and that my mother would get custody over my sister. So I was very traumatized when I was a kid, very traumatized. I was a rebel. I was lying constantly. I was very hard to handle because of everything that happened. So in elementary school, I was always like the black sheep. I was an outsider. I got picked on. I got bullied at. I was always scared to go to school. And my dad and I would sometimes go to the little petting zoo that we had in my hometown, Haarlem, in the Netherlands. And that's where I discovered my love for animals from a very young age, because I had the feeling that a lot of people didn't really accept me at the time, kids. And my dad always told me, like, oh, they're just kids, like, don't listen to them, because it's not true. But if you hear it over and over again, obviously you are going to create like a negative self-image over time. So that's the reason why I was never really attracted to humans, but I was more attracted to animals. So when I was around 5, 6 years old, I would always go to the petting zoo with my dad and I would pet all the animals. And when I was 7 years old, I discovered that I really, really liked horses a lot. So that's where I really started interacting with horses for the first, or with animals up close for the first time, other than petting them in the petting zoo, of course. But when I was 7 years old, I started horseback riding. And my very first horse that I ever rode on was called Freedom, which at the time for me was very symbolic. So I did the horseback riding from when I was 7 years old until I was around 15, 16, because that's when my dad passed away. And that's where I kind of lost my passion, because I really shared my horses with my dad. So I did a lot of horseback riding, and you would always be able to find me in the stables if I wasn't on the horse, because there were little mice in the stables, and I loved rodents. Even from when I was a kid all the way till now, I love rodents. So I would always go into the stables, and the owner would always get mad at me because I was like the annoying kid at the horseback riding school where I used to be, because they never wanted me to go into the stables, and I never really understood why, because I never really did anything wrong. But anyways, so I was always chasing mice, and once in a while I caught one. So yeah, from 7 to 15, 16, I was horseback riding, and I was actually doing really good. I was thinking that would end up as my career. I thought horseback riding was the thing for me to continue in. So when I was around, I started horseback riding when I was 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I switched stables. Like I went to another company, so I started horseback riding there. And then when I was around 9 years old, I broke my arm really, really bad. I was horseback riding and the horse got scared of something, so it jumped aside, and I literally fell off the horse on the side, and then I fell on my elbow, and they had to reconstruct my elbow because my elbow was pretty much crushed. All the bones inside were crushed. I don't know. You can probably see the scar. I have 2 scars, one over here, and then one on the bottom over here. So they had to reconstruct it, and all my nerves got like damaged as well in the process. So when I was 9 years old and I broke my arm, I had to have a cast for 8 weeks, which is 4 weeks longer than usual. And my hand got paralyzed. So half of my finger, from the half of my finger till here and down, this part was paralyzed. So I had to go into therapy, physiotherapy, to train my hands, and they gave me like electric therapy. So they would send little shocks through my nerves to see if it will respond. And it took me 1.5 years to be able to move my fingers again and to get the feeling back. And at the time, they told me that it would take 22 years for my nerves to recover. I'm 28 now, and it happened when I was 9. So it's about 19 years ago, and the nerves are still damaged. I don't think it will ever recover fully. Also, I cannot bend my arm as far as I can bend this one, as you can see. So that was my story with horseback riding. I used to have a horse, not myself, but I had a horse at the stables where I was riding the horses, which was called Boston. At the time, I didn't know that that was a city in the US because I was too young to know that. And that was like my absolute favorite horse. And there was another horse that I would always used to ride on because despite the fact that I broke my arm and had to go through surgery and recovery, I didn't lose the fact that I was not afraid of them. So there was this one horse, Dandy, and eventually the horse moved to a farm because it wasn't suitable for the stables. Like a lot of kids were scared of the horse. But I was really attracted to that horse for some reason. Like it was almost like a pony size. It was a horse, but it was like pony size. So not too big, but always when you would come in, it would put its ears back in its ears back, and it would look at you really mean, and it would try to kick you. But for me, it was always a challenge to kind of tame the horse. And that horse was always really fun to ride for me because I would get on the horse, and then in the beginning, it would always like bully around. I don't know how else to say it, but it would like jump and kick to other horses. And then when you would be around 15 to 20 minutes in and you were sitting on the horse, that's when you would kind of get its respect. And that's when it was a really fun horse to ride on. So I was super sad when that horse was taken away. That's also when I stopped horseback riding at that specific stable. So I did a lot of horseback riding camps too. Once a year in the summer, I would go to a horseback riding camp. So I would meet up with people from my age, and we would ride horses, going into nature, like a lot of rides outside, jumping over trees and things with the horse, doing little competitions. It was really, really cool. But yeah, so when my dad passed away when I was around 16, I kind of lost my inspiration and passion to continue that. And on top of that, I got scared of horses too, because when I was 16, I fell off the horse again. I think in my whole horseback riding career, I only fell off the horse 3 times, which is not that much. But the first time, I crushed my arm and I damaged my nerves and I paralyzed my hand for a good 1.5 years. And the second time when I fell off the horse, I was riding outside together with another girl, and her horse got scared of something. So it started running like crazy. And my horse followed. So it was running uncontrollably, literally. We were outside. So I was riding on this little path in between grass fields. And at the end of the path, there was like a concrete road. And my horse had irons. And when a horse tries to take a shape, tries to take a turn at a really sharp angle, it might slip. So it started running. and at the end of the street you had the concrete road, so I wanted to turn right. So I was trying to control the horse to push it through the grass so that it wouldn't slip on me, because if I would be on the horse while the horse would slip, that would be very dangerous. So instead, the horse decided last minute, in full galloping, to go right. And I was sitting on the horse, and what happened is it basically tried to cut off the corner. So it was running in between a traffic pole and a little creek. So it tried to cut the corner, but while doing so, it jumped to the right. So there was this traffic sign with this round board, and because I was higher, because I was on the horse, my chin bounced against the pole. So the round board, it bounced like that, and the pole hit my shoulder, my collarbone. So that's when I broke my collarbone, also on the left side, and I broke my wrist at the same time. So at that time, I realized that now that I have 3 fragile parts in my arm, I might get disabled if I continue to horseback ride. So that's when I stopped. So that's when I also got into other animals. So when I was 18 years old, I moved out. I lived with my foster parents for 2 years, from when I was 16 to 18, because the 18 was the legal age at the time in the Netherlands that you can live by yourself. So I moved out, and I brought my rabbit with me, because I got a rabbit in the meantime, which I called Ronja, which was based on a book that was one of my favorite books at the time. So my rabbit passed away when I was around, I think, 18 or 19 years old. So when I was 18, I decided to take a year off. I didn't have any animals at the time either, because I felt really bad, and I didn't feel like I wanted to take care of anything, because I had a hard time taking care of myself. So I got into an eating disorder. I didn't feel very good, and I started working at a supermarket just to make some extra cash. So then, it's 2016 now, 2011, which is 5 years ago, so I was 23. When I was 20 years old, I decided to change my life and to start studying animal care, because animals was something that I always fell back on, and I always felt comfortable with animals around me. So I was like, okay, I need to do something with my life. I might as well do something with animals. So I decided to study animal care. And because my diploma from high school was on a higher level than the animal care study was, I was allowed to do the study in 3 years instead of 4. And during my study, I got in touch with so many animals. Like, this is a school, the Clusius College in the Netherlands, in Alkmaar. They have stables with horses. They have stables with sheep. They even had had a lot of chickens, rodents. We had rooms full with animals. Like, there was one room dedicated to birds, one room dedicated to reptiles, one room dedicated to rodents. And that's where I really started to realize how much I really enjoyed rodents. So I had to do a few internships there, which I would like to share with you, because I thought it was really, I think it's share worthy. One of my most amazing internships I've ever had was that I had to work on a farm, and we had to go there really, really early. It was part of my internship. And we had to liver baby sheep and calves. So I had to milk cows by hand, which was the most amazing experience. The internship was, I believe, 4 weeks in total, or 4 or 6. Can't remember exactly. But yeah, we had to help delivering baby sheep. So the sheep were pregnant, so we would go there in the morning and we would feed them first, and then we would bring them to the field. And then in the field, they would deliver. So we had to keep an eye on the baby, on the sheep, on the female sheep that were pregnant, because a lot of baby sheep get born in the wrong position. So their legs have to go first, and then the head goes, and then the rest of the body goes. But a lot of the times it happens that only one paw is up and then the shoulder gets stuck and then it cannot come out. So let me just share. I won't share it too much into detail because a lot of the times it was pretty, it wasn't very hygienic. Let me put it like that. So, so we had to do it with our bare hands. It's not like we had any gloves or something. So when a mother sheep was about to give birth, you would see her like the contractions, and you would see that she was kind of like uncomfortable, and she was really trying to push it out. And sometimes it would happen that you have to push the little baby sheep back into the mother, and then you have to grab the two front paws and then you pull out the sheep. So in total, in those 4 weeks, because it was the season for the female sheep to deliver, I think I delivered around 100 baby sheep. And there was this one baby sheep that I'll never forget about. It wasn't in the right position. It was like right like this. So it was trying to get out, and its face got all purple. So I saw it. So I ran over there, and I pushed it back in. And as I was trying to search for the paws inside the sheep, which was extremely difficult in the beginning because you have no idea what you're feeling if everything is soft and warm inside. So while I was doing that, my finger ended up in the sheep's mouth, and it started sucking on my finger while it was still inside, and I'll never forget that. So I pushed the sheep back, I pulled it out, and then after that I gave it a bottle on my lap. You can imagine I was wearing clothes for a farm, so like getting dirty was no problem. So I would sit there with the baby sheep, and it was the cutest thing. So that's how that was one of my most precious memories I have of that time. If I would ever get the chance again to help deliver sheep, I would definitely do it again, because it was such an amazing experience. And just the fact that you can feel on the inside where everything is, and then you just take out the sheep, it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, I used to do that until I was 23. And one of my internships while I was studying animal care was at a petting zoo, and that's where I ended up getting a job. And at this petting zoo, we had a lot of sheep, cows. We even had 2 pet raccoons, which was rare because there aren't a lot of raccoons in the Netherlands. We had baby guinea pigs, like the small size guinea pigs, really cute. And we had a lot of rodents. So a lot of people would come to the petting zoo on a daily basis. I became a manager over time there, so I used to run the place for a few days a week, and I had volunteers that I would tell what to do and things like that. So people would come to the petting zoo if they didn't want to have their animals anymore, and then we would end up with a lot of animals. So because I have such a big heart for animals, and because I always want to take care of them, I ended up to become almost like a second shelter of the animal care, or of the petting zoo. So at one point, I had 3 rabbits. I had 5 different hamsters. I had 4 turtles. And I believe that I had like a rat or 2 as well. I had gerbils and all sorts of other rodents. So I ended up with a lot of animals at home, but everything was always very neat and clean because I really took care of them very, very well. And that was also the time when I had my turtles. And that's when I really realized that I wanted to get back into fish again. So when I was a kid, I always had fish, but they always died on me because they were tropical fish. And my dad did not know that tropical fish need a heat element and all sorts of requirements. So I thought that I was just doomed to keep fish, but I wasn't. I ended up having a lot of, I ended up having a lot of fish. So at the time when I was doing my animal care study, from when I was 20 to I think 24, even though I said 23 at the time, I think it was around 24. I had 3 big aquariums, and then I'm talking about like big aquariums, which I all got for free. Most of them I got for free. from customers that would go to the petting zoo and that had like an aquarium left, and that's how I ended up with all my stuff. And I had like three big aquariums and four smaller aquariums. I had 7 aquariums in total. And that's when I realized that I really, really liked taking care of fish. So I specialized myself in freshwater aquariums during my animal care study. And I specialized myself mainly in rodents. So yeah, that's how I ended up doing my animal care study, and that's how I ended up caring so much about animals, because during elementary school and during high school, I always had the feeling that I didn't really belong because of a lot of things that I've been through in the past, and that made me so much more adult than a lot of people in my class. So I was always kind of an outsider, and I always had the feeling that I got judged for, and I was weird, and like I just didn't belong. And with animals, when animals came into my life, that's when I realized that they accept you for who you are. And that's the reason why a big part of my life, animals were pretty much the only friends that I had, really. And that's why I'm so connected, I think, with animals, because they really helped me out in the hardest time of my life. So yeah, that's my little animal care story. I would like to make a little time jump back in time when I was around, I think I was around the same age as when I broke my arm for the first time. So I think I was at the time around 8 years old, 9 years old. My dad had a girlfriend at the time that was living in the south of the Netherlands. And her parents, my step-grandparents at the time, also really liked animals. So that's where I started fishing with my step-grandfather. I also used to fish with my dad, but that's where I started fishing a lot. And a lot of people used to dump their turtles into the canals. So I would catch them and I would keep them in a pond that I had. And my step-grandpa gave me a piece of land, and that's where I kept all my animals. I caught some baby ducklings that were abandoned by their mother, and I started raising them. They would sleep with me in my bed on the pillow. I would take a shower with them. I would eat with them outside. They would follow me around everywhere. It was the cutest thing. So I also had some pet ducklings when I was 8, 9 years old. And I had a chicken. Someone didn't want to have the chicken anymore, so I was like, sure, I'll take the chicken. So I had a few chickens. I ended up with a few chickens, and I ended up with 2 pigeons that someone didn't want to have. And I started out with 2 rabbits, and eventually I got 31. You know what they say about rabbits? So I ended up with a lot of rabbits. And so from very early age, I was really attracted to animals, and animals were like my best friends. So just to keep this video at a proper length, I would say that that's all what I have to share with you today. But I do notice as I'm talking, a lot of different memories pop up. So if you like Story Sundays, please let me know, and I'll see if I can come up with some other memories that I have that I can share with you. But for next week, I'll have another topic again. But yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed Story Sundays. I hope that you enjoy getting to know me a little bit better, getting to know the things that I like, things that I did, things that I do. And feel free to leave a comment down below if you enjoyed it and if you have any suggestions for other Story Sunday videos. Tomorrow I will be back again with a roleplay Monday video for you. I know that a lot of you like roleplays, so I hope that you'll enjoy the video from tomorrow. And for now, I would like to wish you a wonderful day or a good night, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, sweeties.